I'll be straight up with you guys. For a long time, after multiple watch throughs of Hunter x Hunter and going through the York New arc, I didn't care for Chrollo. It's kind of funny to think about considering how collectively the Phantom Troupe were my favorite antagonistic group in anime, but Chrollo himself was not hitting for me. I never understood the appeal or hype he had. Sure, the guy's mysterious in the anime, wears a fire-ass coat, and he's pretty powerful as an end user. But that's all I got when I watched him. And this is me putting my Hisoka bias to the side. For me, Chrollo felt pretty damn bland, whereas Hisoka, well, at least he made me feel uncomfortable. For him to be a creepy ass clown yet still be willing to help Gon and Killua and being a good sport about it is nice to see, despite him having his ulterior motives. Alright, this isn't a Hisoka video, but my point is that I never understood how people actually thought Chrollo was a better character than Hisoka. For a series with such golden antagonists, Chrollo couldn't hold a candle to the others. While he wasn't a complete miss for me, he wasn't on par with Meruem, Hisoka, Poof, Illumi, or Pariston. The most interesting thing about him was his power and potential given all of the restrictions his Nen ability had. It wasn't until the flashback chapters of the Phantom Troupe where my eyes were finally opened and I became a Chrollo stan. I'll get into the manga spoilers in a bit, but those few chapters really were powerful. Those chapters right there recontextualized and elevated so much for me in the anime. But before I do anything else, I gotta address the elephant in the room. Is Chrollo really evil? I mean, my dumbass did make the thumbnail. Before we officially even see Chrollo, all we knew about the Phantom Troupe were that they massacred the Kurta clan for their scarlet eyes from our crash out good boy Kurapika. To massacre a clan just for their eyes to make some bank sounds like some pretty wicked shit, man. But simply labeling people as evil can be a bit dismissive, as there are characters that have more nuance and are more complicated than being simply evil for the sake of being evil. I feel stupid that I even have to address this, but in no way am I defending what Chrollo and the Phantom Troupe did. In real life, their actions would have been straight up inhumane and only a hired lawyer would be brave enough to defend their asses. But that's the beauty of fiction. Yeah, you could defend and rationalize wild ass shit without having those same thoughts and opinions back in reality. I don't like looking at characters and begin playing the Oppression Olympics or power scaling trauma or any of that sort of mess. Anyone can make a case that Chrollo is somewhere on the spectrum of evil. Personally, I don't think the man is high up on that spectrum despite his acts, but again, that doesn't really matter. And hey, if for some reason you're one of those people who think evil is evil because a character either is or isn't evil, sincerely, I don't know what to tell you. Chrollo and the majority of the Phantom Troupe came from Meteor City, a place where it's explained that they accept anything you leave there, but ask that you don't ever take anything away from them. It's a place where bonds are thinner than water, yet thicker than blood. Yep, this is where most of our troop members grew up. A nice, beautiful place where all of its residents, who don't exist to the rest of the world, have a high percentage of kids who get to grow up and be adults and go out into the real world to become great functioning members of society, despite all of the criminals who have scurried off there. Yep, this group right here was always destined for greatness. Product of their own environment? Psst, no such thing! When we see the Phantom Troupe in the flashback chapters, we see them as a group of innocent little shits who could have went on to be a bunch of theater kids. And this applies more so for Chrollo, which was so damn interesting. The way he played the role of several characters so easily so that he could put a good show for the rest of the kids. I couldn't help but think about all of the Nen abilities that he had stolen over the years. To play into so many roles as a kid, who went on to lose his innocence and become lost with who he is later on as an adult, is an interesting touch. It's funny because looking back at that time when Gon questioned Chrollo and he just went on his mini soliloquy, trying to make it seem like he's a deeper character than he really is, which at the time I hated because I'm like, bro, you ain't got no damn depth. But looking back on it now, hey man, hey, okay, I apologize. I get it, okay? At first, I was just like Killua thinking, what the f is this guy talking about? But now, okay, you got me. Now having all of this added context, Is that the key to understanding myself? To make your entire life be based around one event is pretty damn demanding, because after you achieve your goal, what else is left? Without going into all the details, the shift from the kids who we would go on to know as the Phantom Troupe, the loss of a friend, and God knows whatever happened to her poor self before she died. As Chrollo refused to tell the others what the murderers did, the switch was flipped for Chrollo, man. The kid went as far as to thinking about using a space in the dark web to show inhumane atrocities so that they could find people doing similar acts like what happened to Sarasa, finding those people and eliminating them, and making Meteor City seem like a safe haven for criminals in hopes that they'd find Sarasa's murderers. Again, this group of kids were already destined for greatness. Oh boy. At this point, Chrollo didn't care about becoming the villain in the eyes of everyone outside of Meteor City. It didn't matter. He was willing to become that villainous figure if it meant that he could protect his home and those he cared about from outsiders. He would do some of the most heinous shit if it meant that he'd reach his goals. And that right there is something I will always get behind. To go back to what I said about making your life based around one event and asking what else is left after the goal is accomplished, Chrollo and the Phantom Troupe were set down their path as kids. They've been on this path of revenge for the majority of their lives. It gets to a point that you lose yourself, or in the Phantom Troupe's case, considering that they've been into the shits at a young age, you fail to learn as much about yourself as you possibly could have when you've been too busy focusing on revenge. Hell, I don't think it's a reach, but I'm already under the impression that Chrollo has an identity issue with how his net ability operates along with his performance as a kid. These chapters added so much of the depth that was previously lacking in Chrollo's character for me. I don't care what kind of evil acts he goes on to do or what he has done to arrive at his current point. Yes, I'm a straight up slut for these kinds of characters, but you probably already figured that out by now. The ends justifies the means. Do what you need to do to protect your small group of people who no one else cares about. Being willing to put your life on the line for the sake of the ultimate goal, even if that means you might not live to see that goal be reached, are the easiest ways for me to fold and bow down for an antagonist. Also, to be fair to Chrollo, before I read the flashback chapters, the only thing that Chrollo had going for him was that he didn't fear dying, as he cared more about the success of the spider. So yeah, I don't give a fuck how evil he might seem, even though I don't think Chrollo is necessarily evil. You want to pluck out a group of people's eyes for some cash? Sounds pretty messed up, but I can get behind that. Want to slaughter a whole room of mafia members to steal a bunch of shit that's supposed to go up for auction? Sounds awful, but fuck it, we ball. I know we all have preferences at the end of the day, and that there are certain acts a character might do that can be seen as so revolting that you'll never like them. Although this can sometimes vary from story to story and character to character, and I'm not talking about characters who are generally liked in the beginning but then do something and become irredeemable. I don't care about that. Not every damn character needs to be redeemed. Oh god, the whole "this character can never be redeemed for me no matter what they do" is a whole group I gotta figuratively stone to death at another point in time. But there's a lot of gray in the pool of evil, so let characters like Chrollo swim freely in that bitch.